welcome to episode 3.
Hello!
Ong's joining us. You really
What's
getting into
happening?
this. I was wondering too.
I have to pick a new toy to present every time. It's my thing.
Works for me. Yeah. And I was just, as I was playing that intro that I threw together in about 20 minutes, I'm like, I need to make a new intro that's better. That one's kind of, it's fine. It does the job, but it's pretty generic. That's a garage band song or iMovie song or something. It's just boring. Anyway, Matt's not coming, I don't think, because Matt's still in Japan. He might be here in the comments, so we'll see. But Mike and Dee, back again. Thank you for coming. And
Hello!
Okay, so before we get started on this, the most recent episode of Monarch, I have a couple of things that I want to talk about first, really quickly. One, why is everybody so mad about Godzilla's run? Everybody needs to calm the hell down about Godzilla's run. He's always had a goofy run.
Because a lot of fans of a lot of different fandoms really only know the very surface level of something, the stereotype, and they don't they don't really know the depth of the stories or the movies or the context, and they get really upset when something references something that's happened a zillion times, but it doesn't match with their idea of what the thing is. I say this as a huge fan of the franchise Friday the 13th, with a very long memory of the exact same complaint happening when the trailer for the 2009 remake came out, and Jason was running in it, and people were like, Jason doesn't run. Jason never runs. And I'm like, well, you need to go back and rewatch these movies, because Jason, the first time you see adult Jason full frame in a Friday the 13th movie, he's running across the street in part 2. He ran a lot in 2, 3, and 4. Jason didn't turn into the I don't run until he was undead. Living Jason, which was what we got in the remake, ran his ass off.
I figured that the commotion must be about people who haven't actually watched a lot of the Toho stuff, the original Godzilla stuff, because there's no way that you could possibly be a real not like real Godzilla fan. What am I saying? Like an original, you're not a fan of the original stuff. You're a fan of the MonsterVerse. You're not. I'm not saying that that's bad. You're not saying as a fan of Godzilla though. You're saying that as a fan of the MonsterVerse that Godzilla's run is bad, right? Like
Godzilla shouldn't run because you've not seen him run in your limited exposure to the character.
Right.
But the character is 60 years old and has run his ass off a lot.
In very silly ways. Like there's loads of different ways that he has run, and they have all been very silly. And actually, I haven't seen every single film Godzilla's been in, but that is, Barbie Godzilla actually has kind of a cool run, comparatively speaking. So I don't know what people's problem is.
The one argument that I heard where I could hear somebody saying, okay, is that he actually moved his arms while running as opposed to being ramrod at his side like a man in a suit.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, at least you're running. And you're like, but yeah, again, this is the same character that launched off his back with his tail and slid along the ground to drop kick a monster.
Oh my god, he's done some seriously acrobatic shit for this humongous 20-story tall thing. Like, come on. He's done some really, weird stuff, and just let it go, you guys. Just let it go.
Yeah,
it's Elsa. Let it go.
They're gonna figure out something to complain about, and they're already up in arms about Pink Godzilla. So running was just icing on the cake.
Maybe we should wait and see the movie before we start bitching about everything.
Have you met the internet?
It's costs so much energy to complain about this stuff. Like, wait and see. Might be good. You don't know.
It really does, and it's exhausting to. I went through a period like in my 20s where I was just that person who wanted to be the first person to pick something apart, and it's exhausting, and it is just so detrimental to just be to
We
be
say that
trying
as we're
that
about to
hard.
pick apart a whole show.
Yeah, but I loved it.
Yeah,
I have
yeah, same.
nitpicks. This
So-
episode was about 80% back to where I wanted it to be. I have nitpicks.
Awesome. Before we start that, I have one other thing. The Boy and the Heron and Godzilla Minus One are basically dominating the U.S. box office, and Godzilla Minus One is in the running for an Oscar nom.
Yep.
It's been a good year for Japanese film, and I
Yep.
just wanted to know your two guys' thoughts on that.
Good films are good films, and generally speaking, this is something. The Boy and the Heron we were going to get a release on, and Godzilla we were probably going to get a release of some kind on, but I do think that this is a case where the writers and actors strikes have lined up an awful lot of foreign language productions that are being brought over. If you look at a lot of the streaming channels, you'll see a lot of I think there's something on Paramount Plus that's some Korean series that's coming over. A lot of Bollywood films have been popping up on Netflix.
It's true. I didn't really even consider the impact that the strikes would have made on this. That's wild.
Right.
Yeah.
Right around now is when a lot of TV shows and movies should be coming out or coming back, and they're not because they all had to start from scratch.
Right.
And so the networks and the studios are all desperate for content that they can use to just keep the machine going. And so as a result, we're getting these movies. These movies are getting broader releases and getting a lot more attention for doing. It's funny, like with Godzilla's numbers, everyone is losing their minds, but by American standards, that would be a flop. A $13 million opening week. If a legendary Godzilla had a $13 million weekend, they'd be crying havoc. But they cost a lot more. Although I have seen so many of the memes where it's like they'll show like the Flash, and it's like this costs $200 million and this costs $15 million. What the fuck, Hollywood? And I just kind of want to be like, yeah, but you got to remember, The Flash had visual effect shots in every shot of that entire film. Godzilla Minus One, wonderful movie. About 15 minutes of Godzilla in a 2-hour and 5-minute think piece, most of which either takes place in a literal shack or on a rickety boat. Because they did a lot of, hey, let's just do Jaws, because there's a lot of homages to Jaws in that film. So it's a thing to remember, like, yeah, we could have much less expensive, big budget style superhero movies if you're comfortable with Peter Parker talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes and only being Spider-Man for 7.
That's a good point too.
They were very, very judicious.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole, like the good end of year numbers for Japanese cinema this year?
I think it's great. I just like good movies, so it doesn't really matter to me. Everyone's been ranting and raving about it. I'm hopefully going to go see it this weekend.
Oh, you gotta see. Oh, it's so good.
Normally, like numbers and all that box office and all that stuff, I really don't care about. I only acknowledge it when someone is trying to use it to destroy something that doesn't need to be destroyed, and that's when I get upset by it. But I love that Godzilla seeing great numbers, and that's being talked about a lot right now.
Yeah, and it's such a good movie. I can't wait for you to see it so that we can talk about it. Matt popped in here and said, "Hey folks, I'm just dropping in to say hi. I woke up in Tokyo and I'm gonna spend the day packing. I'll get caught up when I get back to the States." Oh man, you are like 3 episodes behind now, aren't you? So you got a lot of stuff to. And yeah, Matt was maybe we'll wait and we'll have another talk next time Matt's able to be on the show to do some more talking about Godzilla's run because Matt's a good good for footnotes.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, like all the different times that he's run stupidly and people never are not. Yeah.
I don't, I don't get that. He looked like a giant lizard dragon running. So I don't.
Yeah. I didn't think he looked stupid. I mean, okay, I was a little bit because he doesn't often run because he doesn't need to run because he's the size of a fucking skyscraper, and like one step, he can go farther than any animal that's existing on the planet right now. So he doesn't need to run, but like I didn't think he looked stupid when he ran, so I don't know.
And that fight is clearly in the trailer. That fight is clearly happening in the Hollow Earth, where he's up against other Titans
Other things
in
of
a
his
world
size, yeah.
in a world scaled to him.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Matt says he's about to write an article on why his favorite Godzilla isn't specifically -1. Well, I am extremely interested to read that when you're done. What? And J-Man's here. Hey, J-Man. Thanks for
What up,
joining us.
Hey man.
I think I just heard Jeffrey scream from the other room. Hey, J-Man. So, okay. So, this week's episode, well, last week's episode of Monarch, I guess technically, was another very interesting one. It was, I guess, spoiler time, Matt. You should run. It's the second one where we didn't see any flashbacks to the
Ugh.
1950s, and I think it's the first one where we didn't see any giant monsters.
The only giant
don't-
monster I remember seeing was in flashback footage to the bridge attack.
Yeah. Cause I think the first episode we saw some flashback stuff with Godzilla.
And that's the same footage we saw this time of when
Yeah.
he was
But
destroying
did we
the
actually
bridge.
see Godzilla in this one?
Yeah, we get a
Okay.
him when Kate is having her flashback when she's in the tunnels and she's having her claustrophobic
right. Yeah, okay.
and little PTSD attack. We get glimpses of Godzilla attacking the bridge. That
Right,
one
okay.
shot where he roars to camera that we've seen a bunch of times because it's gorgeous.
Sure. Okay, so so the quick recap on this episode. This is episode 5, and it's so we opens up where they've got Kate and May and Kentaro and Lee Shaw are all in like separate rooms, but they're all those, very stereotypical CIA cement rooms with a mirror and a camera shit and like one metal chair and the Randa children, Kentaro and Kate clearly don't know anything that Monarch cares about, and neither does May, but they find May interesting because they think they can manipulate May. I'm pretty sure that's what the French lady, the one that looks like she could kick our asses, like her, whatever her name is.
Natalia Verdugo. I have the IMDb up so I can check
Verdugo's
names.
the director, or the assistant director. I'm talking about the other woman. That she goes to speak with May, and she says, and she puts the card on the table and says,
Yeah.
Call me when you're ready for this to be done. Yeah.
In my defense, 8x10 glossies rarely look like their characters quite so much.
Fair. Yeah. So and Verdugo, so they basically they are clearly
Duval.
manipulating Duval. Yes. They are manipulating Kentaro and Kate and May into trying to lead them to wherever Hiroshi is, their father is, and
I
they
have
keep
a theory on that.
They keep Shaw behind in the little room. They cut the three young ones loose, but they keep Shaw behind because they want to know what his problem is. Why is he running and chasing after Hiroshi? Then they give the kids tickets back to Tokyo, and they give them phones and money and stuff, I think. And then they're like, "Go home. You don't understand. You do this again, I can't help you. Go home." And obviously, then dude gets back into the truck and he's like, "How'd I do?" And Duval's there and she's like, "Yeah, you did great." And
honestly, it was so heavy-handed that I half expected as soon as he left,
exactly.
I half expected Kate or Kentaro to be like, well, obviously they want us to keep going after him because that was some serious reverse psychology. That was like.
Yeah. And May had to already know because Duval was already in May's ear.
Yep.
With the thing when she puts her card down while they're still in the facility. So
Now-
that was so obviously a tactic. But obviously, of course, Kentaro and Kate did not fall for it. And they're like, we're not going back to Tokyo. We're gonna find where Dad was. And they decide to go back to San Francisco where Kate lives, and go into the I don't remember what they call, like, the restricted zone. And they decide to go back to Hiroshi's San Francisco office and try and find some more information, more clues. And they do, and there's a whole thing about the cats too. There's like cats have overrun the garbage area, whatever that. Which you know what? It makes sense. But like honestly, rats would be first. Cats would be second.
Well, the rats brought
the cats.
Yep, I think that's what happened. Is the rats came out in force, and the cats were just like, "Good eating, meow mix time."
That's probably right.
Now, before we get too far into that part of it, I wanted to go back because I have a weird theory that Heidi noticed when we were watching it. So we get to see all those shots of the screens of everyone in their different little rooms. And we see someone sitting on the floor with their hands together, chained, and their head is in the shadows. And then the next time we see Lee, he's sitting in a chair. So Heidi's going, do they already have Hiroshi? And is he not talking, and that's why they want the kids to finish his work?
I thought that was Kate that was sitting in the corner with no chair. But that is an interesting question.
Because they specifically showed somebody with their head in shadows. You don't bother putting someone's head in shadows unless you don't want to know who it is.
Right.
Oh, I thought that was just Kurt Russell.
I did too, but then when they go back to Kurt Russell, he was in a chair in the middle of the room.
I remember them showing Kate. Kate was in the corner with her head in her knees. So.
I thought that was. I just thought they were trying to be nice, to start to try to play to be nice to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep remembering it, and I didn't get a chance to go back and give it a second viewing before that. Also, one thing that to me kills the theory is that when Shaw tells Verdugo that, Hiroshi's not dead, she seemed legit surprised.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And she didn't look like she was
really
performing.
I don't know.
Yeah, she didn't look like she was performing, but I just wanted to throw that theory out there because I found it interesting. Along with another observation in the airport that I paused it to talk to Heidi about this when we were watching it. When they get to the airport in Oakland, there was a great bit of commentary in that scene that I absolutely loved. Now, when we're in the airport in Tokyo, there are Godzilla evacuation route signs everywhere, arrows on the floor. Everything is about surviving another attack. There are surface-to-air missiles on overpasses in Tokyo.
Yeah.
In the airport in Oakland, there's a commercial for rich dude bro panic room bunkers, and another commercial telling you to respect authority in the event of an attack. Listen to your first responders. So in Tokyo, the emphasis was on public safety. In America, it was how can we market and sell the Godzilla experience.
I mean, and
I loved that. That was the case.
They didn't nail that, huh?
That was, but I didn't see a single sign saying where's the evacuation route, where's the shelter. Nah, it was all about, we have an opportunity to gain more control here and make some profit. Now, there's nothing more commentary valid about America than that part of that scene. Yeah. They didn't hang a big old lampshade on it, but it was there. I noticed it, and I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good point. Ryan's here. Hey, Ryan. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Ryan.
And J-Man said, it's not a Godzilla message, but I wanted to give Dee a shout out. I love finding Dee, and I also have your cover of Lucifer Licorice. Totally beautiful and awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
It's an excellent cover. It is. Okay. We'll talk about that because we got another Lucifer Licorice coming up. So we can talk more about Lucifer Licorice next year. We got one coming up pretty soon. Like, I don't remember what it's soon. Just trust me on this. I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm professional. Anyway, so let me think. Oh, so they go back to San Francisco. They go to Kate's mom's house, and I don't get why we needed to know about Caroline is Kate's mom, and I don't know why we needed to know about her friend James, but like whatever. Like
it was
that
just
was
more stuff. It was just stuff so she can give her mom more shit. She's one of the most disrespectful children ever.
Yeah, the way she decided to break it to her mom?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was super harsh. And I just wonder, is there a thing? Because, like, so far, I haven't seen, like, Kate's been a dick to her mom this whole time on the phone and now in person. And she, like, Kate's mom hasn't really been that big of a dick to her, so I don't understand the dynamic there. Perhaps it's something we're going to learn, but like,
she's mad at her mom.
I get it now.
She realized her mom made her go over there, and her mom knew what was going on. To some degree, her mom knew something was going on, but she was too scared to do it herself, so she put it on her daughter.
I don't think that's exactly what she's angry about, because with what we do learn about Kate in this episode gives a lot of information on why she's had these mood swings and this knee-jerk rage, because she's finding out she was her father. Her father was doing what she was guilty of.
Oh, so that too.
Right, because we had that flashback, and we find out
she was cheating.
She was cheating on her girlfriend. Yeah, Kate was in a relationship with another teacher.
So that's why every time it's reinforced what her father was doing, she goes back into that, and it's a self-loathing cycle. And I don't like how annoying she is about it, but now I understand more why she keeps reacting so harshly anytime she's reminded of her father having two lives. Because that's the path she was on. That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense, and I didn't make that connection yet, so thank you. They have, so as they're trying to get through the restricted zone, they're sneaking because they're not supposed to be there, and badly the military might shoot them if they get caught. They apparently have no problems shooting looters. So Kate is of course having like PTSD breakdowns all the way through, which understandable, but also like we get it. She's got PTSD. Maybe she shouldn't have been the one to go in there, because she clearly is not ready to handle seeing the aftermath of this attack up close like this.
She's pretty stubborn.
That's true too, yeah. But and then she's just like, just leave me, and I'm like, fucking no, they're obviously not gonna do that, you dumbass.
See, I didn't. I see you guys. I guess it didn't bother y'all, but it bothered me. It bothered me the whole episode. I feel like they are trying to force May and Kate into a relationship.
Yes,
I said that. Getting on my nerves.
I said that to Jeff
so
too.
Much.
Yeah, like, oh.
I am so bothered by it, and I'm like, so we're just gonna you're gonna move on with his sister? Like, stop
trying to make mate happen. They're mate now, and stop trying to make it happen.
It's not needed, like at all.
And we do not need a love triangle in our Godzilla show.
And I don't understand why she's so like being so nice to Kate, and what, like, I get it. She cared about you. Like, she didn't leave you in the Arctic. She helped you while your legs were frozen off. But so you have this one situation, and now you're all love smitten by her. But like, you weren't even over old boy yet. Like, you haven't even gotten to resolve any of that, because as soon as you saw him, there's still tension between y'all. So like, and I like in all actuality, there doesn't need to be a relationship at all in this movie.
No, and it's way too tense. You do not start. I hate action movies that have romance subplots, because that is too much tension. That is too that's too much stress. You should not be starting relationships. No real live person is ever thinking about a relationship when the stakes are that high for your freaking life. It's like that was the least realistic part of the movie Speed, was the fucking romance subplot.
Yeah, and the fact that they hang a lampshade on it didn't make it any better, Whedon. Where they do that stupid line about the relationships that are built in trauma don't relax. You can say that a bunch of times in the movie, and then that's just lampshading, and it's lazy, and it's lame.
When
And I
done
mean,
well, lamp shading is great, but it's rarely done well.
Yeah, and I mean, there already is slight hints that there might be something in the 50s with Lee
With
and
Shaw and Kay.
with
Yeah.
Shaw. Yeah,
Yep.
there's already a little hint of, is there something going on there? It feels like there's something going on. Is he really Grandpa?
But see, but that one feels more natural the way that they're
Yeah.
feeding us.
Yes.
That feels more genuine.
That works, and also none of it is building up in the tension. It's building up in between the tension.
Yes.
In the gap time, in the downtime, when it's reasonable to be like, oh yeah, I actually connect with you.
I'm hoping that
it's
the
like
Kate
someone
and May
is.
thing. Oh, sorry. I'm just hoping that the Kate and May thing is like a fake out for us. And I mean, now that May has kind of gone behind Kentaro and Kate's backs to conspire with the enemy, I'm hoping that.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
So I don't like that move either.
Yeah,
that was.
It seems out of character for May too.
Yeah,
we don't know where that will.
Left. You had the option. They
so many
weren't
times.
keeping you prisoner. I mean, they let you guys go. You could have left when this whole situation got brought up to you. You had to escape. You had your runaway plan already. There have been at least 4 times.
Never had to go to Alaska. She could have quit at so many different points.
She had at least 4 opportunities to walk away from this situation. So her walking back into this situation only to betray them, that's trash. Because she has no bid in this. She
doesn't make any sense. Nope.
She can go back to her life. She can move on. As far
and she
Monarch
says,
let them go.
Yeah, she said, and when May calls Duval, she says, "I want to go home. Tell me what I have to do." It's like, you could have fucking gone home the day before when she gave you a fucking plane ticket to Tokyo. What are you doing?
That's what I'm saying.
She's acting like she doesn't have a choice, but she has so many choices.
She's the only one that has choices.
Exactly.
Yes. She has no personal stake in this story whatsoever.
Because like the personal stake would have been there if she was still in a relationship with old boy, and it's like, let me support my partner. But you're trying to start a new relationship with old girl, and that's like, it's super forced, and like you have the whole like, I guess I'm bothered by May because she's all in their business more than she needs to be. Once they brought the videos and stuff to her to translate or whatever, and like that's their shit. It's not yours. Like, you're doing them a solid, you're doing them a favor, you're helping them out. But after that, give them back their stuff. What does this have? Like, what is in this part of it for you? You could have been let that shit go. Because if she didn't keep digging in it and keep those tapes from him when he came back and asked for them, Monarch would have never came to her.
Yeah.
Because he would have had the tapes and she would have been out of it. And you know what? That's my underground stemming anger. I have found it now. Because if she would have let those tapes go, she wouldn't even be in this whole situation.
Yeah.
She has put herself in this thing, and it's her fault. But she's pissed at him. And it's like, you did this.
And yeah, it's like it's super obvious. Like, she's inserting herself in there because she has the unresolved shit with Kentaro, and now she's got new shit that they're trying to shove into our faces with Kate. And like, this is a super weird love triangle.
Yeah.
and it's just so awkward when they're their brother and sister too. Like, come on, it's just borderline weird. Yeah. It's not. I don't have a problem with if it was 3 unrelated people that ended up thrown together and decided to start a polyamorous thing. Like, sure, whatever. I don't have a problem with that. But like, Kate and Kentaro are direct siblings. Their father is the same dude. Like, what are you doing? It's so
back off, Princess Leia.
Like when they zoomed in on her and she was trying to calm her down, she's like, "You only see me." Man, you don't get this over here. Don't move on to something else.
And yeah, that's why I'm hoping that it's a fake out. That they're just trying to pander to people who aren't paying enough attention and then like pull the rug out from under them. I'm really hoping that's the case because that was just so obvious. It was so obvious.
The only thing to me more annoying in that entire scene is Kentaro deciding, okay, we just escaped a handful of troops that were going to shoot us. Let me break out into fucking song.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
That's what he did.
Oh wait, yeah, that's right. He did. They sang a commercial song, didn't they? That's right. Oh
yeah.
my god.
And that's literally a minute after they got away from the first group of troops, and then they sing their way right into the next group.
Yeah, he didn't even, and they weren't even like singing quietly or humming or nothing. He was freaking shouting that song. Oh,
and May said like three times, like.
Ryan, I saw your comment about the Godzilla Minus One, and yes, we talked about that for a few minutes before. Yes. It's super cool that Godzilla, that Minus One's gonna be a Oscar finalist, or it is an Oscar finalist. Yeah, super cool. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. What else? Okay, then what else happened? So they get to Hiroshi's, his office. Of course, like, it's on the very top shelf of this very top floor of this very damaged building, and they have to climb all the way up the stairs, and then they get in there and they start snooping around for stuff, and they find this weird cryptogram thing that is, it's just, why are they making it so hard? Would Hiroshi really have made stuff that hard for himself? I don't know.
My biggest problem with the cryptogram scene is that they mimicked the exact same thing that they did in the 50s with the cryptogram scene, which is the idea that, oh, look, you know, we have this wavy map here, and it lined up perfectly with the wavy map that you've been searching, and you line them up, and they line up perfectly. And I'm just like,
yeah, like, that's so unrealistic. There's no chance of them being at the same scale. Yeah,
exactly. And then with the window trick, it's like, I'm going to put these holes here, and it's going to shine perfect light because the sun is at the exact, like, the sun was moving.
I was like, dawn. That's not how light works. That's not how the sun works. Yeah. If he had shined a spotlight behind that directly behind that paper, yeah, sure. But even then,
look, our dots keep fucking moving. Oh,
and like what are the chances that the window was just exactly the right distance away from that? Because it's not like they used two different things that they found in Hiroshi's office that Hiroshi himself made specifically to be that. Line up that perfectly. No, they used something that was on May's iPad. Like he traced those dots with May's iPad.
But even if Hiroshi had done that with the exact distance, it still would only work once a day.
Exactly.
Or was Hiroshi going to be going like, okay, I'm going to put it on the window and adjust the height. Up, the sun keeps fucking moving. Dawn.
Yeah, and he did, the one thing that he did do is he put it on one way and it didn't work, so he flipped the paper, and then it suddenly was perfect. Like, he didn't, it's just, it was so stupid, and whatever.
Because we can't be trusted as an audience to understand that if the character, like in the flashback scene earlier with the maps, it's like, yeah, I could see that they were clearly the same map. You did not need to overlap them. It was obviously the exact same map.
Yeah, they spoon-fed that to us, and it did feel a little bit like they think that we're too stupid to understand that, even though the characters exposited that shit, too. It's not like they just showed us the two maps and gave us no context. Randa and Kay were talking about it as well. Like, we didn't need to see you line it up like that.
Yeah, it's bad American filmmaking where, you know, you watch a movie, something important happens, and then 20 minutes later they show you a flashback of that scene, and it's like, yeah, we've been watching the movie. Thanks for reminding us.
I appreciate that you think that I'm dumb, but yeah. So then when they get there, so they see that big map, and like, of course, Kentaro rips the map off the wall and looks for the safe behind it, right? And like, it's a paper map. There was nothing behind that wall. It was obvious. What are you doing, Kentaro?
Or you could have done the same thing Kate did and felt for it. Yeah. Also, good thing that the secret clue you guys were looking for wasn't in one of those push pins, because you popped them all off the wall, dumbass.
Shit. And then I was like, and you're walking around, I hope you're all wearing really heavy boots, because you are walking around on push pins. You idiot.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It's a pet peeve of mine when it's one of those things where everything worked out exactly the way they needed it to, and they feel, like you said, he turned it upside down, and it's like, oh, that's the mistake, that they didn't do it perfect first time out the gate, but they did it so perfect, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, so wait, Monarch couldn't have figured this shit out, because they could have gotten permission to go in to do that.
Right. And also, they find that stupid light show that they do with the little parlor trick, the kitty toy, and they look for nothing else. They're just like, okay, this is what we were looking for, bye. And then somehow, and the sun is on its way up, but it is clearly like still, I don't know what time of the year they said that was, but it's clearly not, like, they didn't need to run that fast and get out of there. They still had a little bit more time. Like, come on.
Well, here's the thing. I paid attention to the actual sun. So they get into the room and they say it's gonna be gonna be dawn any minute. We gotta get it. We gotta hurry. We gotta hurry. We gotta hurry. And the sun is the bottom of the sky has a little bit of pink. They pull the map out, do that. He gets his idea and goes to the window.
And suddenly there's enough light.
The sun is now cleared every building in the San Francisco skyline, enough to make horizontal light beams from the window to the wall. So the sun went from the horizon to like the 100th floor in about 30 seconds. Now see,
So maybe that's not the only, maybe G-Day messed up the sun too.
It tilted San Francisco. San Francisco's on a gimbal now. The sun doesn't.
So dumb.
The
It
sun
was
does
very
not
dumb.
rise. Does not rise quite that fast. I mean, I know we're used to movies where you get a lot of instant night. You know,
Yeah.
there was that original Halloween. It goes from sunset to pitch black in the time it takes to play in Don't Fear the Reaper. X-Men 3, when Magneto's moving the bridge, it goes from like late afternoon to midnight in the time it takes him to turn the bridge.
Oh my god,
Which-
so many of those. There's so many of those.
Yeah.
One of
Or
the King
so-
Kong movies has that too, where like they have a big movie premiere with the woman, I can't remember her name. Naomi Watts?
Yeah,
Naomi-
the
Yeah, and it's like at
And
like,
Arrow.
at like 4:30 in the morning. That's because if you go by when dawn happens,
the sun
like,
comes
it doesn't
right
make
the
any
fuck
damn
up.
Sense.
Yeah, the sun comes up 20 minutes after the
the sun-
premiere.
None of that exists in movie world ever.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
Um,
there was a cutscene in that version of King Kong showing that they went and frolicked in the park for a while, and they let the sun rise during that, but they weren't frolicking for 7 hours.
No.
Or, you know,
So-
there's like somebody did the math in like the Michael Bay Transformers movies, and in the first Transformer, based on the math, in the first Transformers movie would have taken about a month and a half to actually occur. The number of sunrises and sunsets you see.
Sure. Nice.
Because it goes from sunrise to midday to sunset to sunrise to midday like 7 times in one scene. So it's like a car chase took place over the course of a week, apparently, based on this position of the sun.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so after they do their fun little light trick and stuff, there's a lot of interpersonal relationship crap that they talk about throughout this.
Well-
But they do figure out that, oh, we think that Hiroshi, our dad, went to Africa. And then they have zero trouble at all getting back out of the restricted
That
zone
was
into
the
truck.
most chaos-free escape from the
They were just-
demilitarized. Oh my god, there was just
It was like, we found
immediately
what we're
in-
looking for, and then just bam, they were back to the truck. Just like
Yeah.
that.
I couldn't hear Sarah earlier. That's why I had to back out. So I didn't get to say my piece on that on the beginning of this. Again, I hate how Kate treats her mother. It is very fucking annoying. Her mother is acting like a superstar. And when she's telling her, I need you back here by 8 a.m. Like, I'm not playing. It has to be 8 a.m. And she's like, we get it, Mom. No, girl, you don't. They have guns. They are shooting people. You disappeared to Tokyo and didn't return any of my phone calls. And now you show up with a whole nother child that I didn't. Look, 8 o'clock, I don't need the sass. All right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't even be letting you go do this right now.
Right,
And
yeah,
really-
like, it's super, super dangerous, and her mom's just trying to reiterate a very, very important point that Kate needs to not forget. And it kind of seemed like, I mean, obviously we know that May and Kentaro were listening too, but like, yeah, the attitude wasn't warranted in this particular instance, Kate.
It wasn't.
I'm at the
that's
point-
why they said, go ahead.
I'm at the point now with the mom where if I'm writing the mom, I'm writing the mom, and she's like, okay, enjoy Rat City. It's your new home. Have a nice fucking life.
Oh, I would have absolutely left. Like when they showed up and I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but my sound was off. I'm sorry. And he's like, break it to her soft. Again, she's rude with that. And they suggest, well, we're gonna go take a walk so you can talk to your mom. And no, that doesn't happen. She brings them in the house, and she's just talking to her mom without any regard for them being in the house, just going in like.
And it's just a trailer house that they set, and she's like, go sit in my room, and Mom and I are gonna have a talk. Like, it's a trailer house. You can't get privacy in a trailer house.
No.
Have you been in okay, I'm not disparaging trailer houses. There are very nice trailer houses out there, but there's a reason for the stereotype. Those walls are super thin. You cannot do anything in a trailer house without somebody else that's in the trailer house knowing about it. Hell, the people next to in the house next to them knew that argument, what was in that argument. Like,
but
they knew,
to the production's credit, while Kate was acting stupid about it, the production was not, because it keeps cutting to them in the room, hearing every word.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with that entire subplot of the mom. Why did we need to see any of that other than to just reestablish Kate is obnoxious? We could have literally just had them go from the airport to the demilitarized zone and say, we got to sneak in. This place is under heavy guard. And then just have them sneak out again later. We did not need to see the hiding in the truck and the espionage sneak in and sneak out thing, just so that we get to see Kate being annoying with her mother. She's been ignoring her mother the entire show. Ignore her for another episode and skip that weird little subplot that served only to make it seem like her mom was a plot device, not a character.
Yeah, unlike that, like it was already really stretching by having so much interaction with the mom. And then they throw in the mom's work friend. What's his name? Was James? James? Yeah, like, he did not need to be there at fucking all.
Oh, he's like the podcaster in Godzilla vs. Kong. Why does these films constantly need to throw a comedy relief wacky guy in?
Yeah, he did nothing. Like, okay, at least the conspiracy theory podcaster was kind of funny at a little bit. But like the guy, the truck driver, the mom's friend, like just completely useless character. He wasn't even funny.
No. The pilot in the from North Korea was a way more interesting and fun character, and they just killed him off.
He was great.
I loved him so much, Duho, and they made us love him so fast, and then they took him away from us immediately.
Yes.
What? And
then Mom's boyfriend is no replacement.
Episode.
None.
Not.
Because and then I'm also sitting here like, do y'all not know? Like, it's like you are selective with saying no. I've seen you say no to people before in the show. Why can't you say no to this man? Why are you letting this man touch you? Why are you letting him grab your coat? Like, dude, get off me. I said no.
I mean, he was completely, like, Kentaro and May, total strangers to him. Kate clearly doesn't like him that much. He had no business just trying to snatch away everybody's stuff. And the only one whose boundaries he respected was May, and that's only because she's like, gave him that I'll kill you look when he tried to reach for her coat.
Yep.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, that guy does not need to be there. I get that they need to put in annoying, like, I get story writing, you need to add a character that has a conflicting personality, yada, yada, yada. But that dude, so far, maybe they're going to change this in the future episodes, but so far, that guy was completely useless. He did not need to be there. He just was there to waste time. That was it. So, so they do get what they want from the office. They have zero trouble getting back to the truck, and they go back to Kate's mom's house. Kate and her mom have a little bit of a patch job on their relationship, but not. I mean, like, it's gonna take more than that to fix stuff, and like the mom still needs to be more angry with Kate. Like, she's being a dick. She's still being a dick, although being less of a dick at the end than she was in all the other episodes. And then we see Kentaro's like, I'm gonna call my mom. And May's like, don't forget to be non-specific. And Kentaro's like, yeah, I know. And I just want to let her know I'm okay. And then May sneaks off to another house and goes around the corner and then makes the phone call to Duval. And she says, I want to go home. What do I have to do? And Duval's like, you're a smart girl. I'll be in touch. And that's it. Like, okay, what the fuck even was that? And also, again, like we said with May, like she could have gotten out of this at any time. So what the hell is she even talking about? Okay, so there are a couple of flashbacks, but only to 2014, to the days around and G-Day itself. So the surrounding days and G-Day itself.
Those worked for me. Those all worked for me.
Yeah,
admittedly.
so we discover that Kate's in a relationship with another teacher whose name is Danny, but we also find out that she cheated on Danny. She's gonna move in with Danny, but she cheated on Danny. And so she, out of guilt, like she has the opportunity to stay with Danny on G-Day, and we see as they're walking through the restricted zone, we see the school that Kate used to teach at, and it's basically still standing. So I have to assume that Danny, being that she stayed in the school with the kids that were in the gymnasium, she made it out. She didn't die during G-Day, during all that stuff. So we assume, that's my assumption. Obviously, we don't know, but the assumption is that because the school's still standing, Danny's okay. And Kate, because she's feeling guilty about having cheated on Danny, she's like, no, I don't want to be with Danny right now. I'll get on this bus and chaperone these kids that are going across the bridge that then, of course, Godzilla destroys. And the kids, we saw, actually, a couple of times we saw the bus go over the broken edge of the bridge, and basically all of the kids die. I know a couple of them jumped off, but...
So, Dee, are you also including that? Or am I late to the party? Because not only is she cheating like her father was, but she did the exact same thing and chose the other person like her father just did when Godzilla attacked.
Yep.
So Godzilla's attacking. She goes and she chooses another person. She goes on the bridge. She gets attacked by Godzilla. Her father comes and finds her, but like he chooses to go after Godzilla or whatnot, or this other family over her. So like now, yeah.
The parallels, to me, this falls into the category of it's an explanation, it's not an excuse. Her behavior is still fucking annoying, but I understand it a little bit better now why she is so mercurial and flies off the handle and does these 180s from I want to know to now I know, and it pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
now I understand it more. It's still annoying, but I understand it.
But you don't mind. I don't care about it now. Like you've explained and given a solid reason why this character acts the way that the character acts, and it's not because the character's poorly written or anything like this. This character is awful, and this is the reason why they're awful at this point. Yeah. This explains their behavior, but like you said, which I really appreciate, it doesn't excuse the behavior. But so it's still a good character. Like that's how you write a character to be an asshole, and you just like them, and then it's like it's not terrible writing.
No, it's solid writing, and the character makes sense. I think the only thing about the writing that wasn't solid is that we got 5 episodes before we got a hint of why she was acting like that, and that strains my ability to stick with it.
Oh. Okay.
Had it not been, like, for example, if this episode had not risen back up to match my expectations better than last week, I'd start getting ready to check out, because 2 episodes in a row without Wyatt Russell and all that cool stuff in the 50s that I'm way more invested in.
Yeah, and we had barely any Kurt Russell either. We just had him right away at the beginning where he's like, the kids don't know anything, and I know you want to know what I know, and then they had that dumb line about bury you deep or bury you shallow. Like, the fuck does that even mean, Verdugo?
Yeah, I didn't feel threatened by that at all.
The shot where they're projecting the old footage of himself as a young man, and he's turned. That was chef's kiss.
They've done that a couple of times. Where they and like it does make sense with the superimposing, like when they do the map stuff too. Like, they are doing that. They're using that projection thing a lot, so like you can see like that's obvious in there, and so that's.
But in
cool,
this particular shot, like when they did the reflection fade in the windows a couple episodes ago, and that was cool. Yeah. But this being practical, an actual projected image, and he lines up as they both turn to camera.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss, perfect shot.
It was a very good shot. Very good shot.
Very good shot, I agree.
But at the same time, what was the point of showing those clips? Which is to establish that, he knew them and they were friends. Like, I don't understand. Maybe I will. Maybe we'll know.
Oh,
Eventually.
that's just emotional manipulation. That's just to
Yeah,
make him
yeah, yeah.
emotional.
Yeah, that's
Make
what I
it-
thought. And I guess maybe it's just because I'm a soulless monster that I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, you're trying to make me cry? It's not working.
See, Sarah, humans experience these things called emotions.
I had heard that, but you know,
It happens. I understand.
it's
I think
hard.
one of my-
It's hard to understand that which you do not experience yourself. I guess
There was one other pet peeve I need to whine about with the map scene. When they
Yes.
determine where Hiroshi went. And they go,
Yes.
Africa. And I'm like, the second largest continent on the planet. Would you narrow it down a little bit?
Yeah,
There
because
are-
they were like San Francisco, and then Alaska, and then Africa. I was like, but where in Africa? It's a fucking
There-
massive continent. That's not
It's a
that's not
continent.
country.
It
It's
is not a
continent.
country. It is a continent comprised of dozens of countries. Each one has a name.
And we
Many
didn't
of them
even get a really good
recognizable.
shot of like they didn't really give us a good angle on the map itself to see if we couldn't even see, is it on the horn, is it in the center, is it north, is it south? We got nothing because the angle was so shitty on that
I
map.
bet you-
So we have no idea where
I
they're
bet you
going.
at that point of the shooting or in that part of the script, they had to determine what part of Africa. So they just said Africa in general. I
Quite
bet-
possibly, but it's also
fair.
that's a storytelling problem that I've seen in a zillion things. Africa is for some reason completely devalued down to just calling it Africa like it's a town. Movies do
Yeah.
that constantly, where they do
Well-
not specify what country in Africa until they actually go there.
And it goes right along with, I just recently discovered that Africa is the largest continent on the earth, and they make it super small on maps.
Yep.
Yeah.
They make it small on maps so people don't know how massive the continent of Africa is. That's
Yeah, if you look at
crazy to me.
like a standard Mercator map, Greenland is like the same size as Africa, and I understand why it happens, but like that's not accurate. Greenland is fucking tiny compared to
Yeah.
Africa, yet it looks like the same size on a Mercator map.
Yep. It's the map
Yeah, like-
distortion thing. A lot of it is just, I mean, obviously there's just a lot of low-key racism involved with it in the devaluing of the concept. But just from a storytelling standpoint, it's just a thing that drives me nuts. Because again, you're like, San Francisco, Alaska. Okay, even Alaska is kind of ridiculous because they at least finally did have to say, oh, it's this part of Alaska.
Yeah.
Again,
'cause-
largest state in America.
I assume that they're going to get to the point where they, because you said Alaska, but then Kate remembered what the flight was in Alaska, so they were able to narrow it down quite a bit. So I assume that we're gonna get that in the next episode, or maybe the episode after that. But Africa, really? That's it? She didn't even say East Africa or anything like that. Just Africa.
Much less a country.
Yeah, I think it had to be some kind of oversight and like Mike said, maybe it ends up being intentional. I don't know, but it's just maybe there was a reason for it. But
it's a huge pet peeve of mine, and it's one I notice because it is done very, very frequently when Africa gets name dropped in something.
It's always Africa too. It's not like people are like say, "Oh, Australia." It's like no, they say a specific place in Australia, but like Africa is always treated as one entity, as one place that isn't, a humongous, massive land that is full of its own smaller countries, which are very different. I mean, there's like rainforests in one part of it, and there's a fucking giant desert in another part of it. Like, there's so much difference. You can't just call it Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, even just saying America would be ridiculous, but they wouldn't do that to us because this is an American show made by Americans, and that's why we got San Francisco, which is a very American place, and then they were just like, and Alaska, and then Africa. Like, they got less specific as they went on, because Alaska, yeah, it's technically America, but is it really, That's how people feel about it. Like, Alaska is an afterthought in American history.
Yeah, and people don't think of the individual parts of Alaska, that it does have major cities, and they play it. They played that They played that similarly, and a lot of that probably just comes down to the expectation of their audience being stupid.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
realizing that if they had said Africa, most of the people watching understand the core concept of the continent. But if they had said Botswana, they'd go, huh? And not know what the hell they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do similar stuff with South America, unless you're talking about, like, Brazil.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder why that is. So yeah, that's. I mean, I'm sure we'll find out a more specific place in Africa, but it definitely I did notice and log that in my brain only to forget it later. So I'm glad you brought it up. And then, okay, so they get back to Kate's mom's house. They talk a little bit, and then Kate's mom. Kate. This was another thing that I'm like, what the fuck do we need to know any of this for? Kate asks her mom about, "Are you and James like
a thing?
Are you doing?" And she's like, you know, like that, like, and Kate's mom's like, "He's waiting for me to be ready," and I'm like, ready for what? And also, Kate, are you gonna mention that Hiroshi might still be alive? Because that might change what your mom wants to fucking do.
Yeah.
R.E. James, who, I like the fact that he's quite a bit, like, seems quite a bit younger than Caroline, is not really relevant to me, because, like, as long as they're two consenting adults, I don't care. But, like, he does not seem at all, like, he seems like a hippie. Like, you know, he's got the scraggly bushy beard. Like, he seems like a completely different person than Caroline. So I'm like, these two are an interesting matchup that I had that momentary, that's kind of an interesting coupling there. But then I was like, but who fucking cares? Because that's a completely useless couple as far as progressing the story. But yeah, I was like, don't you think, Kate, maybe you better tell your mom that her husband might still be alive? He technically isn't breaking any American laws by being married to someone in Japan and America. Like, what laws is he even breaking? So, it's moral, but yeah.
I suspect we're going to be getting flashbacks with Carolyn and Hiroshi at some point, because I'm on IMDb looking at Carolyn's actress, Tamlyn Tomita, and I'm like, oh, yeah, she looks 20 years younger than her character looked in last night's episode. So they grayed her hair, and they put some, they put a little bit of extra wrinkling on her, because she's from, like, born in, like 66.
Yeah.
So she's not nearly as old as her character is being made to look.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you mentioned that, because we mentioned this in, like, the first episode, that Asian actors, they have trouble. Like, we have trouble knowing what age they are. So they're children, and then they're adults for, like, 60 years, and then maybe, like, when they're 90, then we see that they look older. But it's really hard. I want Asian skincare routines.
I am looking, but
so young.
I'm looking at the actress who plays Amiko, Kentaro's mom. She looks her age. They didn't do anything to her.
Keiko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tamlyn Tomita, who plays Carolyn, looks significantly younger than her character looked in the episode. So I'm willing to bet they're taking advantage of that. We'll probably get flashbacks with her at some point.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. And I didn't actually notice, so they did a pretty good job with the makeup. The gray hair was
which surprises
gray hair
me.
Automatically equals old, right?
But that surprised me, though. That it must have been a wig, because there's nothing that Hollywood does worse than trying to gray somebody's hair. Just ask Benedict Cumberbatch's sideburns in Doctor Strange.
God.
For some reason,
that was
it's like
an homage to the comic, but
it's just
not
bad.
Very well done.
With gray hair, the only way to make that work in Hollywood is you've got to actually put a wig on that person's head, because graying hair always looks fake. Always looks fake.
Yeah. And maybe that's what they did. It was pretty good. So like her hair was pretty good. So it must have been a wig or like amazing special effects. I don't know. Doesn't matter. The point is, I wasn't really aware that she wasn't that this was a younger actress playing an older person. Like I just assumed. So,
Yeah,
I didn't look her up.
The only reason I know is because I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and her headshot here, which looks like it's from an event, like an event or something, like a red carpet type thing. Like, yeah, she looks a lot younger than her character was portrayed. So that could that's. And then again, Kurt Russell's picture here is clearly from about 15 years ago, so it could also be an old picture.
Yeah.
Because Kurt Russell's picture on IMDb still has mostly brown hair, and he hasn't had that in a while.
Sure. I just Googled her quick. She's 57?
Sounds about right. But
yeah, so we're definitely gonna get some flashback stuff if that's the case. If they aged her, then yeah, they wouldn't have picked her as the actress if they weren't planning on doing some flashback.
Yeah, and this show keeps jumping around in time like crazy.
Yeah, it does.
So
I was disappointed about the lack of Wyatt Russell in 2 episodes in a row.
The next episode,
the thumbnail has Lee and Keiko right in it. So
God.
So there's definitely going to be in the next episode.
But, I wouldn't mind a break from the modern day for a whole episode at least.
Yeah, it's like we didn't have nearly enough Kurt Russell to make up for the fact that there was no Wyatt Russell.
We need more Russells.
Yeah, we need more of the Russells. And honestly, I'm still really fucking lost on the time. Like, I want to know more about the Keiko, Bill Randa, Lee Shaw thing. I can't remember. Keiko Mura is, I think, her name. But I want to know about her last name. Yeah. I want to know more about what was going on then, because it'll give us more context for what's happening in the present day and why the hell it matters where the hell Hiroshi is. Except for obviously kids want to know.
There's something I noticed this time watching in the opening credits.
Ooh.
So,
I didn't know I was supposed to pay attention to those.
I've started. So, on one side of the screen, you have modern information, like 2015 information, and the other side of the screen, you have other. Or you have which family that Hiroshi's with. Like, sometimes you'll have the pictures of one family or the other. You'll have a crisp, clean Monarch logo and an aged one. Stuff like that. You'll have pictures of like a nuclear countdown on a modern clock, on an old clock. It's usually the past on one side, the present on the other side.
Okay.
Well, when the credit comes up where it says based upon Godzilla by Toho, you see Godzilla on both sides with San Francisco in the background on one and another city behind him and another one. I do think we're going to get to see the ramifications of Godzilla getting nuked. Because it's a black and white shot, and you see a city of short buildings with Godzilla's back to camera. And on the other side, you see the same shot of Godzilla's back to camera with what looks like San Francisco or a more modern city.
Interesting.
With hints of color in it. So you do see 2 shots of Godzilla in the opening title sequence mirroring each other, showing Godzilla in front of a city. So I'm like, okay, nice. Well, we know the present, the Godzilla from, the San Francisco attack. But I think that means we are going to get to see at least something get trashed as a result of him getting atom bomb in his face.
Good, because we haven't actually seen any monsters do any damage to any cities yet, and I want to see some cities get smushed. And also, we still don't know. Like we learned immediately that Keiko got spirited away by these weird giant bugs, and we don't even know what happened to her after that. Like, the fact that they didn't show her dying is really sus to me because, because that's the nature of this show. We don't know if she's dead. We don't know if anybody's dead unless we saw their dead body on screen. Like, we are pretty sure Duho's dead because we saw his dead frozen body laid out on the plane wing, and then Lee Shaw fucking blew him up to lure away the one monster that was attacking the other 2 people that he was with.
Yeah, I mean, as a general rule, yeah, it always helps to see the corpse.
Yeah, I don't believe they're dead until we see their body and there's like some tangible on-screen proof that they're dead. And even then, anybody who's watched like Days of Our Lives or some other soap opera knows that that doesn't necessarily mean they're dead. Even then.
Or read any comic book, like, say, writer Mac Fraction, who's an executive producer on the show. This episode not brought to you by Godzilla 1985's drink of choice, Dr. Pepper.
Nice. So, so we're like at our hour now. We're actually a little over our hour. So, what are your hopes for the next episode beyond getting to see more Lee and Keiko and Bill
Obviously,
Miranda?
I need more Wyatt in my life. That goes without saying.
You're gonna get that because the thumbnail said so.
I want to see what happens as a result of Godzilla getting an atom bomb in his face. I want to see some heavy monster pet in action. I want to see a little destruction. I want to see them throw. We know at least at one point Godzilla is going to be coming out of the desert somewhere because we see that in the trailer.
Right.
So no idea where that is, but I want to see something. I want to see something that gives us more information on what happened as a result of that, because we know from King of the Monsters that when you blow up a bomb in front of Godzilla's face, that took him from death. In King of the Monsters, that nuke took him from death to, I'm going to fart and destroy Boston. I will melt a city with my presence.
Yes.
So, yes.
He basically was a bomb himself.
The Castle Bravo nuke, the Castle Bravo bomb is way less powerful than the one they blew up in his face.
Right.
But that's still an atomic explosion that he absorbed point blank.
It's obviously somehow tied to the attack and like why Godzilla was as big as he was in 2014 and yada yada. Like it's obviously all tied together.
And
but those are the more obvious things that we're supposed to notice.
I still feel like something in Japan, something of Japan, something Japanese is going to get destroyed, because I still don't believe that level of preparedness they had in the first episode.
Yeah, it was completely unprompted.
Yeah, that's not just, that big monster really wrecked house in San Francisco. That's that's being prepared.
And they didn't do that in 1 year either. Like, that was some very serious infrastructure. There's no way they did that in the space of just 1 year.
So I very much get the feeling that Japan has some part of Japan, if not Tokyo proper, could just be an island off the coast or whatever. Some house got wrecked somewhere in Japan to where the government was aware of the existence of Godzilla and they hushed it up and they kept it all on the down low.
And interestingly, tying into Godzilla Minus One, Mike had to go because of his computer and he had a meeting, and like I was just like, you can head. We're about done anyway. So, but because he's not here, we can talk about this a little bit. Godzilla Minus One, they made it clear that they had no intention of telling the general public about the Godzilla stuff, and that has kind of been a theme in the MonsterVerse movies.
Yep.
So. And like to the point where they are referencing in, like the taxi driver that said they thought that the San Francisco attack was a hoax. Like, despite the fact that Kate didn't just witness the devastation, but she was right there. Like, she could have reached out and touched Godzilla at one point.
Yeah.
So
Kate can tell us what Godzilla's breath smells like in a way that only Matthew Broderick has described.
Exactly. She can tell us what color his eyes are. Like, she knows what he looks like. And so like that's a thing that we are seeing, like a very successful cover up by the Japanese government, if that's the case, and that'll be interesting. And there's 10 episodes in this season. And
we're only at the halfway point. Yep.
We've seen 5 now, so they better kick it up a notch, or we're gonna have a lot of unanswered questions at the end of this season. Which, to be fair, they want us to watch the next season, which I'm sure there's gonna be one.
Yep. And also,
you don't have to fuck with us like that, though, okay?
But also, unfortunately, like a lot of these various series that we've gotten over the years, especially the Marvel ones, have a tendency to drag everything out right up until around episode 9, where everything gets really, really fast and rushed.
Yeah, and that just doesn't need to. You're doing a disservice to your show by doing that, and you're doing a huge disservice to your audience, because that's the kind of stuff that makes me like, if they would have announced well, like WandaVision was really good, but like there's a couple of shows that they did that I watched, but if they announced the season 2 to those, I'd have been like, I don't know if I really because I wasn't feeling it by the end, because they were doing that where they were like, nothing happened, and then the last 2 episodes everything happened, and it's like,
except for always a handful of things that they forgot to resolve that weren't just left that way for, sequel bait, like Moon Knight, which I want a Moon Knight season 2.
Oh my god, are they not? Has that not been announced yet? Are we not?
No, still.
Sure?
That literally ended on like not a cliffhanger, but a, hey, that thing you were thinking about the entire show? Yeah, it's a thing, and here's that thing.
Yeah, motherfuckers.
Meet Jake, motherfuckers.
Okay, I know that's a completely different, like, we're talking about Disney versus Apple TV and Legendary and but like, don't do that. We hate it when you do that. We're gonna stop watching your shit if you keep fucking with us like that.
And my concern that this is gonna follow the pattern.
Creators. We can just make our own shit. We can do it. We'll do it. We already have.
That's what I'm doing when I'm skipping other shows that people tell me are what must watches. I'm creating my own shit. My fear is that episode 4 of Monarch was very much a filler episode, and I'm like, why are we getting a filler episode when there's only 10 of these?
Yeah.
The idea of that pace is we don't need filler.
I mean, I'm hoping that it won't be a filler. I'm hoping that it's just that there's something they haven't shown us yet that is going to tie back into it and is going to make it valuable. But yeah, for the most part, episode 4 didn't need to exist at all. Especially now that we have episode 5 and see what's going on here. We didn't really
these
need
people,
it.
I don't know if any of these people are going to pull off a Mike Flanagan, like those Haunting of Bly Manor and Hill House. They do episodes where you think there was filler, and then 5 episodes later, you're like, oh, that was the most relevant thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, man. Such good shows. Oh, God. Oh, Hill House. I watched it. I was living alone at the time, and I watched it in the dark in my house by myself, and like, oh, don't do that. It's such a good show. Do watch the show. It's absolutely amazing show.
We finally watched
in the dark.
it. My opinion of Haunting of Hill House was that there is an underlying current to that show, and the show is, are you afraid of going to bed? Well, you fucking will be. Because almost every episode has at least one scene of utter horror surrounding someone who has just gone to bed or is laying in bed, and something just terrifying happens. In every conceivable level. And as somebody who has dealt with sleep paralysis, the sleep paralysis episode was just like,
oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god. It's so good. Yeah. But don't watch it alone if you can help it, and don't watch it in the dark at all. It's bad. Don't do it. Unless you need like the maximum shit your pants fear effect, then by all means watch it in the dark. It'll definitely make you shit yourself. Anyway, that is totally not the show we're talking about.
Yes, we've gone off topic, and it's well past the hour.
Yes, it is. We're like 15 minutes past now. I am very excited for the next episode, though, all things considered. I was slightly less excited last week, but we're back. I'm back to being fully invested now. I want to know. There's a lot of shit that doesn't make sense, like May's betrayal doesn't make sense. The storyline with the mom doesn't make sense. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, and I'm hoping that they're going to resolve that as we go. And I hope they don't wait till episode 9 to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you have any parting thoughts?
No, I'm just looking forward to more monsters. That's
All
the
right.
only thing this episode was missing, was some good heavy monster action.
We did need, more monsters, and more Wyatt and Kurt.
Yes, definitely
Next
more
episode,
Kurt.
that was 2 episodes with no Wyatt. That's fun.
And the episodes we've gotten with Kurt are very thin on the Kurt Russell. I could use some more Kurt Russell here.
Yeah. Absolutely agree.
But one way or another, more Lee Shaw across the board.
Yes, agreed. 100% agreed. So with that, I think that we pretty much covered everything I thought about, and I hope we covered everything you thought about.
Yep.
And we, yeah. So we'll be back next week, probably. I got to tack that probably on there because we thought we were coming back immediately, and then everything kind of, the shit hit the fan. So shit happens. That's what we do. That's the thing.
Yep.
And yeah, so we'll probably be back next week. Same time, same place. And thank you for watching, and click the like button and the subscribe button and all that crap. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. Yes? So, okay. Bye!
Godzilla roar!